My daughter-in-law called the police on me, claiming I attacked her. She stood there in my front yard, tears streaming down her face, playing the victim like she'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. But when the officer reviewed the video evidence, everything changed. He looked at her with disgust and said, "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to turn around and put your hands behind your back." The look on her face was priceless. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how a 66-year-old retired school teacher outsmarted a woman half her age, and saved her grandson in the process. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear my story. If you're comfortable, let me know where you're listening from, and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you my story. My name is Dorothy Mae Johnson, and I've lived in this house for 42 years. My late husband Samuel and I built it together back when this neighborhood was nothing but farmland and dreams. We raised our son Marcus here, watched him take his first steps in the living room, helped him with homework at the kitchen table, celebrated every birthday in the backyard. Samuel passed away 5 years ago, heart attack, sudden and cruel, and I've been living here alone ever since. But I'm not lonely. I have my church family, my garden, my books, and most importantly, I have my grandson Jalen. Jalen is 7 years old, bright as sunshine and twice as warm. He's Marcus's son from his first marriage. His mother passed away when he was just 2 car accident on a rainy night. Marcus was devastated, and I stepped in to help raise that baby. I've been his primary caregiver ever since. I pick him up from school every day, help him with his homework, feed him dinner, and keep him until Marcus gets off work. That boy is my heart walking around outside my body. 3 years ago Marcus remarried. Her name is Vanessa, and from the moment I met her something felt wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. She was beautiful, I'll give her that, perfectly styled hair, expensive clothes, nails always done. She smiled at all the right times and said all the right things. But her eyes were cold, empty, like a shark's. I tried to give her a chance. Lord knows I tried. I invited her to Sunday dinners. I complimented her cooking even when it was bland. I bit my tongue when she redecorated my son's home and threw away pictures of his first wife. I stayed quiet when she suggested Marcus should move on from the past and stop visiting his late wife's grave. But I couldn't stay quiet about Jalen. From the beginning, Vanessa treated that child like an inconvenience. She never hit him, not that I saw at first, but she ignored him, dismissed him, rolled her eyes when he talked, sighed heavily when he needed something. She made it clear that Jalen was a reminder of Marcus's past, and she wanted no part of it. "When are we having our own children?" she would ask Marcus constantly, right in front of Jalen. "I want a real family." As if that boy wasn't real. As if he wasn't standing right there, hearing every word. Marcus, bless his heart, was caught in the middle. He loved his son desperately, but he also wanted his marriage to work. He'd been so broken after losing his first wife, and I think he was afraid of being alone again. So he made excuses for Vanessa. He smoothed things over. He asked me to give her time and be patient. I was patient for 3 years. But patience has limits when a child is involved. It started small. Jalen would come to my house after school with his shoulders slumped, his eyes sad. When I asked what was wrong, he'd say, "Nothing, Grandma." But I knew. I'd been a teacher for 35 years. I knew when a child was hurting. Then I started noticing marks. The first time was about 8 months ago, a bruise on his upper arm, finger-shaped, like someone had grabbed him too hard. I asked him about it gently while we were having our after-school snack. "Jalen, baby, what happened to your arm?" He looked down at his cookies. "I fell." "You fell and got finger marks on your arm?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then in a small voice, "Vanessa grabbed me because I was being too loud." My blood went cold, but I kept my voice calm. "Did she hurt you?" He shrugged. "It's okay, Grandma. I was being bad." "Baby, look at me." I waited until his eyes met mine. "You are never bad. You are a child. Children make noise. That's normal. And no one has the right to grab you hard enough to leave marks. Do you understand me?" He nodded, but I could see he didn't believe it. That woman had already started making him think he deserved it. That night, after Marcus picked him up, I sat in my kitchen and prayed. I prayed for wisdom, for guidance, for the right way to handle this. I was a retired teacher. I was a mandatory reporter. I knew the signs of abuse, but I also knew that one bruise wasn't enough evidence. I needed to be smart about this. So I started documenting. Every time Jalen came to my house, I checked him over casually, carefully, not wanting to alarm him. I asked gentle questions, and I took photos, always with his permission, always explaining that Grandma just wanted to remember, just wanted to keep him safe. Over the next 6 months I documented 3 more incidents. A bruise on his ribs from when Vanessa pushed him into the counter. Red marks on his wrist from when she yanked him. A scratch on his cheek from when she slapped him for talking back. Each time Jalen made excuses. Each time I photographed, dated and filed it away. I kept a thick folder with photos, dates, times and Jalen's own words written down exactly as he said them. I also noted patterns. The incidents always happened when Marcus wasn't home, when Vanessa was alone with Jalen, when she was stressed or angry about something else. I debated what to do. Call CPS? But what if they didn't believe me? I was just the grandmother, and Vanessa was charming. She knew how to play people, and if I reported and nothing happened, Vanessa would know I was watching. She'd hide it better, or worse, she'd convince Marcus to keep Jalen away from me entirely. No, I needed to be strategic. So I decided to talk to Marcus first, to show him the evidence, to make him see what was happening under his own roof. That conversation happened 3 weeks ago. I invited Marcus over for dinner. Just the 2 of us. Jalen was at a friend's birthday party, and Vanessa was at some charity event. The kind where she could show off her designer dress and pretend to care about poor people. After we ate, I sat Marcus down at the kitchen table. The same table where I'd helped him with his homework 25 years ago. Son, I need to show you something, and I need you to listen with an open mind. Marcus looked worried. What is it, Mom? I pulled out the folder, opened it, spread the photos across the table. Marcus's face went pale. What is this? This is 6 months of documentation, I said calmly. These are bruises and marks on your son's body. Injuries he received from your wife. No, Marcus shook his head. No, Vanessa wouldn't. Look at them, Marcus. Look at the dates. Look at the patterns. These happened when you weren't home, when Vanessa was alone with him. Marcus stared at the photos, his hands trembling. Maybe he fell, kids fall. These are finger marks, I said firmly. This is a handprint on his ribs. This is a slap mark on his face. I've been a teacher for 35 years, son. I know what abuse looks like. Marcus was crying now. Why wouldn't he tell me? Because he's scared. Because she's made him think he deserves it. Because he loves his daddy and doesn't want to cause problems. Marcus put his head in his hands. I noticed things. I noticed he was quieter, more withdrawn, but I thought he was just adjusting. Growing up. He's not adjusting, he's surviving. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Marcus looked up at me, his eyes red. What do I do, Mom? You protect your son. I said simply. That's what you do. Marcus took a deep breath. I need to talk to Vanessa. I need to hear her side. Marcus. I know, Mom. I know what you're thinking. But I have to give her a chance to explain. Maybe there's something we're missing. Maybe she needs help. Therapy. Something. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell him there was no explanation for hurting a child. But I also knew my son. He needed to handle this his way. Fine, I said. Talk to her. But Marcus, if she hurts him again, I'm calling CPS. I love you, son, but I love that boy too. And I will not let anyone hurt him. Not even your wife. Marcus nodded. Give me a week, Mom. Please. Just a week to figure this out. Against my better judgment, I agreed. That was my mistake. 3 days later, Vanessa showed up at my house, unannounced, furious. I was in my garden tending to my tomatoes when I heard the car screech into my driveway. I looked up to see Vanessa storming toward me, her face twisted with rage. You meddling old witch, she screamed. I stood up slowly, wiped my hands on my apron and faced her calmly. I dealt with angry parents for 35 years. This woman didn't scare me. Good afternoon, Vanessa. Don't you good afternoon me. You told Marcus I abused Jalen. Are you insane? I would never hurt that child. The evidence suggests otherwise. Evidence? What evidence? Your lies? Your fabrication? Photographs don't lie, Vanessa. Bruises don't lie. That boy's fear doesn't lie. Vanessa stepped closer to me, her finger pointing at my face. You are trying to destroy my marriage. You've never liked me. You've never accepted me. And now you're making up stories to turn Marcus against me. I didn't back down. I'm protecting my grandson, that's all I've ever done. Protecting him from what? From me? I've done nothing but try to be a good stepmother. A good stepmother doesn't leave marks on a child's body. Vanessa's face contorted. Those were accidents. He's clumsy. He falls. Kids get bruises. In the shape of handprints. She faltered for just a second, then recovered. You're twisting things. You're manipulating the situation, and I won't stand for it. She stepped even closer and I could smell her expensive perfume mixed with the sharp scent of fury. Listen to me carefully, old woman, she hissed. I will make you regret this. I will make sure you never see Jalen again. I will convince Marcus that you're senile, that you're dangerous, that you're unfit to be around children, and when I'm done you'll be rotting in some nursing home, while I raise your grandson however I see fit. I looked at her steadily. Vanessa, I've dealt with bullies my entire career. You don't frighten me, and if you think I'll stop protecting that child, because you threaten me, you don't know me at all. She smiled then, a cold, cruel smile that chilled me to my bones. We'll see about that, won't we? She turned and walked back to her car, her heels clicking on my driveway. Before she got in, she looked back at me. This isn't over, Dorothy. Not by a long shot. She drove away, leaving me standing in my garden with a racing heart. That night, I did something I probably should have done months ago. I went to the electronics store and bought myself a doorbell camera. The kind that records everything. I also bought a small body camera. The type teachers sometimes wear in classrooms for safety. It was no bigger than a button clipped right onto my cardigan. I wasn't paranoid, I was prepared. The next 2 weeks were tense. Marcus told me he'd talked to Vanessa, that she'd denied everything, that she'd cried and said I was making it up because I'd never accepted her. Marcus was torn. I could see it eating him alive. I continued picking up Jalen from school every day. I continued documenting, and I continued wearing my body camera whenever I knew there might be a confrontation. Then came that Tuesday, the day everything exploded. I picked Jalen up from school at 3:15. Same as always. He ran to me with his usual enthusiasm. Grandma, guess what? I got an A on my spelling test. That's wonderful, baby. I hugged him tight. I'm so proud of you. Let's go celebrate with some cookies and milk. We drove to my house chatting about his day, but as soon as we got inside I noticed something, a new bruise. This one on his upper thigh, visible when his shorts rode up as he sat at the kitchen table. Jalen, I said gently, sitting across from him, what happened to your leg? He looked down and quickly pulled his shorts lower. Nothing. Maybe I can see the bruise. Can you tell me what happened? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a whisper, I spilled my cereal this morning. Vanessa got mad. Did she hit you? She kicked me. Under the table. When Dad wasn't looking. My hands started shaking. Not from fear but from rage. Pure righteous rage. Jalen, look at me. I waited until he met my eyes. This is not your fault. You hear me? Spilling cereal is not a reason to hurt someone. You did nothing wrong. Tears started streaming down his face. I don't want to make trouble, Grandma. You're not making trouble, baby. You're telling the truth. And the truth is important. I took photos of the bruise with his permission. As always. I wrote down exactly what he told me, word for word. I noted the time, the date, everything. Then I made a decision. I was calling CPS tomorrow. No more waiting. No more giving Vanessa chances. This had to stop. But Vanessa had other plans. At 4:30 there was a knock at my door. I checked my doorbell camera. It was Vanessa. My heart started racing, but I stayed calm. I made sure my body camera was on, clipped to my cardigan as always. Then I opened the door. Vanessa stood there, her face arranged in a pleasant expression. Dorothy, hello. I've come to pick up Jalen early. He's doing his homework, I said evenly. Marcus usually picks him up at 6. Well, I'm picking him up today. I'm his stepmother. I have every right. Technically she was correct. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. Vanessa, why don't you come in and wait? He's almost done with his math. She stepped inside, looking around my modest home with barely concealed disdain. Actually, we need to go now. I have errands to run. I walked to the kitchen. Jalen, honey, Vanessa is here to pick you up. Jalen looked up from his homework, and I watched his face fall. The fear that crossed his features broke my heart. But Grandma, I'm not done with my math. And you said we could make cookies. Vanessa appeared in the kitchen doorway. Jalen, let's go. Now. But, I said now. Jalen started gathering his things slowly, his movements reluctant, Vanessa sighed heavily, walked over to him and grabbed his arm, the same arm that already had fading bruises. Move faster. I don't have all day. Oh! That hurts, Jalen cried. And that's when I stepped in. Literally. I moved between Vanessa and Jalen, positioning myself as a shield. Take your hands off him, you're hurting him. Vanessa released his arm but didn't back away. Instead she smiled, that same cold smile from the garden. And then I saw it. She pulled out her phone and started recording. So this is how it's going to be. Dorothy, you're going to keep me from my stepson? I'm protecting him from someone who hurts him. Vanessa's eyes gleamed. She had her plan and she was executing it perfectly. She started walking toward me, phone held high recording everything. Don't you dare come near me, you crazy old woman. I didn't move. I stood perfectly still, my body between her and Jalen. Get away from me, Vanessa screamed suddenly, though I hadn't moved an inch. Help! She's attacking me. Jalen started crying behind me. Grandma didn't do anything. She didn't touch you. Shut up, Vanessa snapped at him, then turned back to me, her performance continuing. I'm calling the police. You're insane. She ran out of my house into the front yard, phone still recording. I followed calmly, Jalen clutching my hand. Please, Grandma, he whimpered. I'm scared. It's okay, baby. Everything is going to be okay. Grandma's got this. Vanessa was in my front yard, already on the phone. Yes, 911. My mother-in-law attacked me. She's dangerous. I need help immediately. 3042 Oak Street. Please hurry. I stood on my porch, holding Jalen's hand and waited. I knew what was coming, I knew what she'd planned, and I was ready. 8 minutes later, 2 police cars pulled up in front of my house. 4 officers got out, 2 from each car. The one who approached first was an older officer, maybe in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and kind eyes. His name tag said Williams. Ma'am, he said to Vanessa, who was now crying hysterically. Can you tell me what happened? She attacked me, Vanessa sobbed, pointing at me. I came to pick up my stepson and she went crazy. She grabbed me, pushed me, threatened me. I was so scared. Officer Williams looked at me on the porch. I stood there calmly, Jalen still holding my hand. And you, ma'am, he addressed me. What's your version of events? Before I could answer, Vanessa interrupted. I have video. I have proof. Look. She shoved her phone at him. Officer Williams took the phone and watched the video. From where I stood, I could see what it showed. Vanessa's carefully angled recording that made it look like I was approaching her aggressively. Her screams of get away from me and she's attacking me. The other officers were watching too. I saw their expressions hardened as they looked at me, an elderly black woman, accused of attacking a young pretty well-dressed white woman. I knew how this looked. I knew the statistics. I knew how often this story ended badly for people who looked like me, but I also knew something they didn't. Ma'am, Officer Williams said to me, his tone more serious now. I need you to step down from the porch. Of course, officer, I said calmly. I gently released Jalen's hand. Baby, stay right here on the porch, okay? Jalen nodded, his eyes wide with fear. I walked down my porch steps slowly, calmly. Vanessa was still crying, playing her part perfectly. Officer, I said quietly when I reached him. Before you do anything, may I show you something? He looked at me with suspicion. What? I have a doorbell camera, I said. It recorded everything from a different angle, and I have this. I pointed to the small camera clipped to my cardigan. I'm a retired school teacher. We learned to document everything. I've been recording since she arrived. Vanessa's crying stopped abruptly. Her face went pale. What? She whispered. Officer Williams looked at me with new interest. You have video? Yes, sir. Complete footage of everything that happened. Would you like to see it? He nodded. Yes, Mom. I would. My tablet is inside. May I get it? He gestured to one of the younger officers. Go with her. I went inside with the officer, retrieved my tablet and brought it back outside. I pulled up the doorbell camera footage first. This is from my doorbell camera, I explained. It shows a wide angle of my porch and yard. Officer Williams took the tablet. The other officers gathered around. Even Vanessa crept closer, her face now ashy. The video showed everything. Vanessa arriving, her pleasant expression, coming inside. Then the kitchen scene visible through my windows. Vanessa grabbing Jalen's arm, Him crying out, me stepping between them. Me not touching Vanessa at all, just standing there shielding the child. Then Vanessa running outside, screaming that I attacked her, when I was still inside, her calling 911 while I stood calmly on the porch. That's out of context. Vanessa stammered, you can't see everything from that angle. Then let's see this angle, I said, pulling up the body camera footage. This video was even more damning. It showed Vanessa's face up close, as she grabbed Jalen, her expression cold, cruel, enjoying her power, her grip on his already bruised arm, his cry of pain, me stepping in, never touching her, just positioning myself between her and the child. And then her switching on her phone, her expression changing like a mask, her manufactured screams of fear while I stood completely still. Officer Williams watched the whole thing. His jaw tightened. When it was done, he looked at Vanessa with an expression that made her take a step back. Ma'am, he said to her, his voice cold now, this video clearly shows you filing a false police report. No, she edited it. She manipulated it somehow. Mom, this is time-stamped continuous footage. There's no editing. The other officers were shaking their heads, looking at Vanessa with disgust. But she has to be arrested, Vanessa shrieked. She threatened me. She kept me from my stepson. Officer Williams turned to Jalen, who was still on the porch, watching everything with wide eyes. Son, he said gently, walking toward the porch. Can I ask you some questions? Jalen looked at me. I nodded encouragingly. He looked back at the officer. Did your grandmother touch this lady? Officer Williams asked. Jalen shook his head firmly. No, sir. Grandma didn't touch her. Grandma never touches anybody mean. She just stood in front of me so Vanessa couldn't grab me again. Did Vanessa hurt you today? Jalen nodded slowly. She grabbed my arm real hard, and this morning she kicked me. Because I spilled my cereal. Officer Williams knelt down to Jalen's level. Can I see your arm, son? Jalen rolled up his sleeve, showing the fresh red marks from today's grip, layered over the older fading bruises. Officer Williams stood up, his expression thunderous. He looked at one of the other officers. Call CPS. Now. No, Vanessa screamed. You can't do this. This is all a setup. She planned this. Officer Williams turned to her slowly. Ma'am, you're right about one thing. Someone did plan this, but it wasn't her. He pulled out his handcuffs. Vanessa Peterson, you're under arrest for filing a false police report. Based on the evidence I've seen, additional charges of child abuse may be forthcoming. You have the right to remain silent. You can't do this, I'm the victim here. She attacked me. Mom, I just watched 2 separate videos that show you never being touched. What I did see was you assaulting a child and then fabricating a story to frame his grandmother. Now turn around and put your hands behind your back. Vanessa started crying for real now. Please, I made a mistake. I was upset, I didn't mean. Turn around, ma'am. Watching Vanessa get handcuffed in my front yard was not something I ever imagined I'd see. But I felt no joy in it. No satisfaction, only relief that this nightmare was finally ending. Just then Marcus's car came speeding down the street. He must have seen my text. I'd messaged him the moment Vanessa showed up, telling him to come quickly. He jumped out of the car, taking in the scene, police everywhere, his wife in handcuffs, his son crying on the porch, his mother standing calmly in the yard. What is going on? He demanded. Officer Williams intercepted him. Sir, are you the father? Yes. What happened? Why is my wife being arrested? Sir, your wife called in a false report claiming your mother attacked her. We have video evidence proving that never happened. We also have evidence of your wife physically abusing your son. Marcus's face crumpled. No. I'm so sorry, Marcus, Vanessa cried as they led her toward the patrol car. I didn't mean for this to happen. She provoked me. She's been trying to destroy our marriage from the beginning. Marcus looked at me, then at Jalen, then back at Vanessa. I saw the moment something broke in him. The moment he finally saw the truth he'd been avoiding. You hurt my son, he said quietly to Vanessa. You hurt my son and then tried to frame my mother for defending him. Marcus, please. He turned away from her. Officer Williams approached me with respect. Now, ma'am, I have to say that's some impressive documentation. How did you know to do all that? I smiled slightly. 35 years as a teacher, officer. You learn to always have evidence, and when someone threatens you directly, you prepare for the worst. Well, your preparation just saved yourself and possibly your grandson. We'll need official statements from everyone, and CPS will want to see all your documentation of previous injuries. I have a file, I said. 6 months of documented incidents. Photographs, dates, his own words. Officer Williams shook his head in admiration. You're one smart lady. I'm a grandmother, I corrected him, and there's nothing I won't do to protect my grandson. The next few hours were chaos. CPS arrived. Statements were taken. Marcus was shell-shocked, moving through the process like a zombie. I gave them everything, my folder of documentation, copies of all the videos, my written records. The CPS worker, a kind woman named Miss Robinson, reviewed everything with growing concern. Mrs. Johnson, she said to me privately, this level of documentation is remarkable. How long have you suspected abuse? About 8 months, I admitted, but I needed to be sure. I needed to have evidence. I've seen cases where grandparents report concerns and aren't believed. I wasn't going to let that happen. You did everything right, she assured me. Everything. This documentation will ensure Jalen's safety and will be crucial in any legal proceedings. What happens now? I asked. Given the evidence of abuse in today's incident, we're recommending immediate removal of the child from any environment where the stepmother has access. Since the father wasn't aware of the abuse and the grandmother has been the primary caregiver, we're comfortable with Jalen staying with his father with increased supervision from you. But ultimately a judge will decide. And Vanessa? She's facing serious charges. False police report, child abuse, child endangerment. Given the documentation, she'll likely face significant legal consequences. After everyone finally left, CPS, police, all of them, Marcus sat in my living room, his head in his hands. Jalen had fallen asleep in my guest bedroom, exhausted from the day's trauma. I should have listened to you, Marcus said, his voice broken. I should have protected him. I sat beside my son and put my hand on his back. You're listening now, that's what matters. 3 years, Mom. 3 years I let that woman into our lives. 3 years she's been hurting him, and I didn't see it. You didn't want to see it, I said gently but honestly. You wanted your marriage to work. You wanted to believe the best in her. That's not a flaw, Marcus. That's love. But sometimes love blinds us to what we need to see. What do I do now? You divorce her. You protect your son. You rebuild. That's what you do. Marcus looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. How did you know to record everything? How did you know she'd try something? Because she told me, I said. That day in the garden she threatened to make sure I never saw Jalen again. She threatened to put me in a nursing home. And I knew then that she was dangerous. So I prepared. You outsmarted her. I protected my grandson. There's a difference. Marcus was quiet for a while. Then he said, I failed him, Mom. I failed my son. No, I said firmly. You made mistakes, we all do. But you didn't fail him. You're here now. You believed the evidence when you saw it. You didn't defend her when the truth came out. That's not failure. That's growth. I don't know how to move forward. One day at a time, one decision at a time. And the first decision is, you put Jalen first. In everything. From now on, he comes first. Marcus nodded. He comes first. Good. Now go upstairs and watch your son sleep. And tomorrow, we start rebuilding. Marcus went upstairs. I sat in my living room, finally letting myself feel the weight of the day. My hands started shaking, the adrenaline finally wearing off. I'd held it together through everything, but now, alone in my living room, I let myself feel scared. What if she'd succeeded? What if the officers hadn't believed me? What if I hadn't had those cameras? The thought of being arrested, of being taken away from Jalen, of Vanessa winning it was terrifying. But she hadn't won. The truth had won. Documentation had won. Preparation had won. I said a prayer of thanks. For protection. For wisdom. For justice. 3 months later, things had changed dramatically. Vanessa was charged with filing a false police report. Child abuse and child endangerment. The evidence was overwhelming. My documentation, the videos, the medical records, Jalen's testimony to CPS. She took a plea deal to avoid trial, 5 years probation, mandatory anger management and parenting classes, a restraining order keeping her away from Jalen, and a permanent mark on her record. Marcus filed for divorce immediately after her arrest. It was finalized in record time. She didn't fight it. She knew she'd lost everything. She moved to another state. Probably to rebuild her image somewhere nobody knew her story. Marcus got full custody of Jalen. The court was very clear: Vanessa was never to have contact with the child again. As for us, life returned to a new normal. Marcus started therapy to work through his guilt. Jalen started play therapy to process the trauma. They were both healing slowly but surely. And me? I continued doing what I'd always done. I picked Jalen up from school every day. I helped him with homework. I made him cookies. I loved him fiercely and protected him completely. But there was a difference now. Jalen smiled more. He laughed more. He wasn't afraid anymore. The community rallied around us in ways I never expected. Other teachers from my old school reached out, proud of how I'd handled everything. Parents from Jalen's school thanked me for being vigilant, for noticing what so many people miss. My church family surrounded us with prayer and support, bringing meals and offering help in countless ways. Even Officer Williams stopped by my house a few weeks after the incident. He was off duty, just checking in. "Mrs. Johnson," he said, standing on my porch, "I've been on the force for 25 years. I've seen a lot of false accusations, a lot of domestic situations gone wrong, but I've never seen someone handle it the way you did. Your composure, your preparation, your focus on that child, it was remarkable." "I just did what any grandmother would do," I said. He shook his head. "No, ma'am, not every grandmother would have had the foresight to document everything. Not every grandmother would have kept her cool when being accused of assault. You're special, Mrs. Johnson, and that boy is lucky to have you." I thanked him, and after he left, I thought about his words. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was special in some ways. But I also knew that what I'd done wasn't extraordinary. It was love in action. It was a grandmother refusing to let anyone harm her grandchild, no matter the cost. One afternoon, about 3 months after everything happened, Jalen and I were in my kitchen making his favorite chocolate chip cookies. He was standing on his step stool, carefully dropping chocolate chips into the batter, his little face scrunched in concentration. "Grandma," he said suddenly. "Yes, baby. Thank you for protecting me." I stopped stirring and looked at him. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "From Vanessa. You saved me. Even when she was trying to get you in trouble, you didn't let her win." I set down the spoon and pulled him into a hug. "Baby, that's what grandmas do. We protect, we love. We fight for our babies. No matter what. Even when it's scary. Especially when it's scary." He hugged me tighter. "I love you, Grandma. I love you too, baby, more than you'll ever know." "Grandma," he said again, still in my arms. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm not scared anymore, because I know you'll always keep me safe." Those words nearly broke me. To know that this child, after everything he'd been through, felt safe again, that was worth everything. Every moment of fear, every sleepless night, every difficult decision, all of it was worth hearing those words. "Always," I promised him. "Grandma will always keep you safe." We finished making the cookies, and as I watched him carefully place them on the baking sheet, I felt overwhelming gratitude. Gratitude that I'd trusted my instincts. Gratitude that I'd documented everything. Gratitude that I'd prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. Marcus came by that evening to pick up Jalen. He looked better than he had in months. Still healing, still working through his guilt. But lighter somehow. He'd started going to church with me again, reconnecting with his faith, finding peace in places he'd neglected. "Mom," he said, standing in my kitchen while Jalen gathered his things. "I've been thinking, would you be okay if we had Sunday dinner here every week? Like we used to, just the 3 of us?" I smiled. "I'd love that, son. And maybe we could start some new traditions? With Jalen? Build some happy memories to replace the bad ones?" "That sounds perfect." He hugged me then. A tight, grateful hug. "Thank you, Mom, for everything. For seeing what I couldn't see. For doing what I should have done. For saving my son." "Our son?" I corrected him. "He's our family, and family protects family." After they left, I sat on my porch watching the sunset. The same porch where I'd stood calmly while Vanessa tried to destroy me. The same porch where justice had finally been served. I thought about all the grandmothers out there, all the caretakers, the protectors, the ones who see things others don't want to see. I thought about how often we're dismissed as meddling, as overprotective, as senile. How often our concerns are ignored because we're old, because we're not the parents, because people think we're just causing trouble. But we see, we know. We protect. Vanessa thought she could outsmart me. She thought she could use the system against me, A 68-year-old black woman against a young, pretty, well-spoken white woman. She thought the optics alone would win. But she underestimated me. She underestimated the power of truth, the power of documentation, the power of a grandmother's love. She called the police on me, expecting them to arrest me. But when that officer saw the video, the real video, the truth couldn't be denied. And instead of me in handcuffs, it was her. Justice doesn't always work out like that. I know how easily this could have gone differently. I know how many people like me don't get believed, don't get justice, don't get their happy ending. But this time it worked. This time the truth won. This time the grandmother won. And most importantly this time, the child was saved. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Mom, Jalen wants to know if he can spend Saturday night at your house. He wants to help you plant tomatoes. I smiled and texted back, tell him I'll have his room ready, and we'll plant the tomatoes together. I put down my phone and looked out at my garden, the same garden where Vanessa had threatened me all those weeks ago. My tomatoes were thriving. My flowers were blooming. Life was continuing, beautiful and persistent, just like me, just like my family. The next morning I woke early as I always did. I made my coffee, sat in my favorite chair, and pulled out my Bible. I'd been reading Psalm 91 a lot lately, the one about God's protection, about being sheltered under His wings. It felt appropriate somehow. As I read, I thought about the journey we'd been on, about the fear, the doubt, the moments when I wondered if I was doing the right thing, about the friends and family who'd supported me, and the faith that had sustained me. I thought about Jalen, healing and growing stronger every day, about Marcus finally seeing clearly and being the father his son needed, about our little family, broken by betrayal but slowly being rebuilt with love and trust. And I thought about Vanessa, wherever she was, hopefully learning from her mistakes. I didn't wish her ill, not anymore. I just wished her away from my family, away from my grandson, where she could no longer cause harm. The doorbell rang, breaking my reverie. I checked the camera, old habit now, and saw my neighbor Mrs. Williams standing there with a plate of something. I opened the door. Good morning, Evelyn. Morning, Dorothy. I made some pound cake, thought you might like some. Come in, come in. I just made fresh coffee. We sat in my kitchen eating pound cake and drinking coffee, talking about everything and nothing. Church gossip, gardening tips, grandchildren's stories. You know, Evelyn said after a while, everyone's still talking about what you did. How you stood up to that woman. How you protected that baby. You're like a hero around here. I shook my head. I'm no hero. I'm just a grandmother. That's what makes you a hero, she said wisely. You didn't do it for glory or recognition. You did it because it was right. Because that boy needed you. That's the best kind of hero there is. I thought about her words long after she left. Maybe she was right. Maybe heroism isn't about capes and superpowers. Maybe it's about ordinary people doing the right thing, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Vanessa thought calling the police on me would destroy me. Instead, it exposed her. It freed Jalen. It reunited my family. It proved that truth, properly documented and calmly presented, will always triumph over lies. She thought she could break me with her accusations, her tears, her performance. She thought the system would automatically believe her over me. She thought age meant weakness. That being a grandmother meant being powerless. She was wrong about all of it. Because I didn't survive 68 years by being unprepared. I didn't spend 35 years as a teacher without learning how to document, how to protect, how to stand firm in the face of adversity. I didn't raise a son alone after my husband passed without developing strength and resilience. Vanessa saw an old woman. What she should have seen was a warrior. My grandson is safe. My family is healing. Justice was served. And I'm still here. Still protecting, still loving, still being exactly what I've always been, a grandmother who will stop at nothing to keep her babies safe. She called the police on me, but the police arrested her instead. Because in the end, truth wins, love wins. Grandmother's wisdom wins. And that's a lesson Vanessa learned the hard way. As I watched the sun set that evening, painting my garden in shades of orange and gold, I smiled. Tomorrow Jalen would come over. We'd plant tomatoes together, make cookies together, do homework together. We'd laugh and talk and just be family. And I'd keep protecting, keep loving, keep documenting, if necessary. Because that's what grandmothers do. That's what I do. and I wouldn't have it any other way. The end.